Not really happy.
Nigel couldn't make it.
Yeah.
I rang up Mendenhall, he said he could make it.
Don't dig this hole. Phil, credit to the guy, always manages to do well what he has to. He is a shocking person right now. You guys got a trophy? No.
It was pre-bit.
No, my life from Rashad Mendenhall.
Right, you go. I'm a tag, Jack! I'm a fucking tag!
Hello and welcome to another episode of the LOC Report. We are back after our second or third bye week. I've lost count now, which the NFL players would love, but good for us. Broadcast those. We have as many as we like. Chris is back as well. How's it going, Chris?
Going really well. Somehow managed to end up being November, and I don't know how. So here we are. But it's be here.
Yep, indeed. It'll be Thanksgiving before we know it, and then it'll be Christmas and the Corona bubble before we know it. So
scary that. It's not that long away now, really. So
no, it flies. It does tend to fly, as the LOC season does as well. We are entering the double-digit weeks already. It's hard to believe that. And Chris has got his poppy on as well, of course, for Remembrance Day.
This is for historical purposes. If you wonder when it was, you know it's kind of November time.
Yes.
So but for good reason, by the way. And if you are in America wondering why is it that British people wear poppies, well, it's because of the loss of the British people of the First World War. Now I know that Americans don't really recognise the First World War as a thing, but they should, because it's all about human cost, man.
Yeah.
Like,
did they have some involvement in it? I'm struggling to remember. I should know more than. I'm pretty sure they did. Yeah, I thought they did.
So again, the American trend of entering World Wars slightly later than expected. They turn up in 1987 with decisive effect.
They're going to make up and start the next. They're going to make up for it and start the next one, so it's fine.
Yeah, yes. That mentioned this week as well. Yeah.
We'll get onto that in debate corner, though. Don't worry.
Corner to be. So, anyway, I would digress very, very, very slightly. From
No, it had a good meaning. You were talking about the poppy. It had a good meaning. So absolutely right. Yeah. And that reminds me, I need to put Penny's poppy collar on as well.
Must do. Yes, that's the vague reasoning of it. And then now it's the Remembrance Sunday is on Sunday.
Yes.
And the run up to that, you then have the Royal British Legion who sell their poppies and do good stuff for armed forces and former members of the armed forces around the country. So
Absolutely. And with that, we'll get to the recaps. Yes, not my cleanest of segues, but I'll take it. So we'll start off with what would have been. Well, it involves you, so you're wearing the poppy. Let's go with that. What would have been the marquee matchup last week, I think, had we chosen one, had you chosen one, Chris. Unfortunately, not a positive one, but at least we're getting out of the way for you nice and early here. It was Le Creuset. He's stuck with that one. He's seeming to like the premium vibe against Forge Flyers. Le Creuset was the division leader entering this one at 5-3. You, Chris, could have leapfrogged him given your superior points with a win, but instead you notched your third loss, which I can't believe my eyes looking at. But it was a fairly closely full game, 101 to 87. History of this matchup all time now. Where is my history? Here it is. You are now 7-6 all time against Coach Gardner Beddoes, Chris. You had a solid. Both teams had a fairly solid day. Really, you look at it, the difference is Jalen Hurts with 34 points and Love only having 11. And clearly, I don't think fully healthy in the Lions. They're obviously playing quite well at the moment. But yeah, that was really the difference in this one.
Yes, I would agree with that. And as we'll come to my reasoning for not playing Zay Flowers in this one later.
Yes,
as we will see in the previews of this week. I mean, Jacoby Myers was all right with his double point scoring.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you'd have played Flowers mathematically, would you have still won?
Wouldn't.
So no. Nobody in their right mind would have chose Flowers over Chase, especially against Vegas. So, and I mean, considering Burrow threw 5 tuds as well. How on earth Chase only got 4.3 is another question, but more on that later. So don't feel too hard about yourself. I haven't checked. You're probably still the highest scoring, if not you're among them, even with that on the bench. So
yeah, and actually, what's more annoying is I could have scored 100 points, which for me is what I'm trying to do. I don't really care about necessarily the wins and losses at this stage. It's whether or not I can continue the consistent point scoring in the face of being just scored on 100 points or more every week. That seems to be what happens.
Well,
as we'll see in the breakdown later.
Yes, you can go for that 80+ points week streak though, because that's kind of the one that's been caught a lot of attention, certainly since we've been in the post Superflex era. That's the sought after one. We've had a few teams have some good runs on that, and you seem to be the latest.
Yeah, I have no issue with that. So the team is working well. There's good components of it. I agree that the quarterback situation this week was not ideal. That kind of had to happen. Yeah. I wish I'd have played Zay Flowers. But other than that, across the board, you can't really complain too much if you're me. If you're OGB, on the other hand, you're loving that.
Yeah.
And again, bubbling up with 3 key performances there. Pollard and Chuba Hubbard come out of nowhere, particularly Hubbard in the fourth quarter. And then a big day for Hurts as well, getting him across the line with some handy scores other than that. So yeah, you can base it around three guys, and that's what he's done. And for me, I guess I was much the same. Just my 3 guys didn't have a quarterback.
Yeah,
the quarterback didn't score very well, as you mentioned.
Definitely.
So yeah, no issues there. Carry on to this week, as we'll see in the previews later.
Yeah, I don't quite know how Ollie's team is 6-3. It's not. I wouldn't describe it as a bad team. I have some problem with it being one of the best teams in terms of record anyway in the league. But anyway, that's how it shakes. We'll leave that by the wayside and go on to this game. Sorry, what did you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you're dead right with that, and I think there's some real bang average players in that team. But similarly, if you got someone who can score 20 points a week at quarterback and have a few guys that chip in, I think Hubbard's been the one player that's taken him from being that sort of mid-tier team to up, because again, he's been a revelation for fantasy purposes anyway over the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, you're definitely right there. Yeah. Our next game then, it was the Bucks Bowl featuring bucking the trend against Pakistan. Mike, Coach Taylor carrying a 2-game winning streak into this one, and then oh boy, he had a juicy day with a 120 to 112 point victory. Pat gets the old buzzsaw straight through the right arm. Unfortunately, and that drops Pat to 5-4, brings Mike to 5-4. So Mike's heating up at the exact right time, and he did it with a donut too. Michael Wilson, who he streamed out of necessity. 120 carrying a player. JSN absolutely erupted on the Rams for 30 points. And then good other scores all around on the other side for Pat. Obviously a good day at the office as well, but just got outscored. The history of the Swamp, by the way, now bucking the trend is 2-5 all time against Pakistan. So Mike's maybe catching some steam heading into the close of the season.
Well, it seems that way, and they say again, with not a lot of depth on that team either. He's making
not receiver depth anyway. Running back depth is pretty
true
good.
True that. Yes. You're right there. But yes, Pat will be rightly disappointed with that. I think again, Lamb and Waddle, the combination, you would expect perhaps a little bit more, especially when Miami go for 27 points in the game.
Can we also, before we move on, just point to the fact that Waddle managed to get less than 6 points whilst scoring a touchdown. The reason for this was very hilarious, because on the whatever you call it at the end of the game, when they try and to pass it around like crazy to try and score when they're like 80 yards away, he was the unfortunate one that I think got lumped with the final ball that came and it had minus 20 yards attributed to it. Even still beyond that, it's obviously not a great box score. The touchdown saved the day, but yes, your point is right that you would obviously be hoping more, considering Leggett and Addison on the bench would have outscored the combined score. It wouldn't have made the difference. It's just it looks weird on paper, like you say.
Yeah, absolutely, and when you're in a 111 point defeat, you can't really complain too much, especially as it goes towards your points 4, I suppose.
He would have beaten nearly every other team as well, all but
Indeed.
1. Oh, 2, sorry. Yeah.
All rather gutting. But for Mike, shows the resilience of that team there. Again, so close to a perfect score this week. But yeah, what can you say? Yeah, Jacobs, Robinson, Swift, again, pretty solid 3 there. And you talk about JSN's eruption, I think, is definitely the best word for that. Because I'm not going to go with emergence, but eruption is a good one. And again, not missing Patrick Mahomes on that team as well when Gino's there. I know he could have gone for a couple of points had Mahomes been there, but it looks like Chase Brown's going to be a big part of that Bengals offense, and I see him on the bench there, which could have the one thing that probably could have gone better for him. The one thing I do want to address, though, and I've seen it for the last couple of weeks, is that Tua is in the reserve spot for Pat.
Ooh, yes. It was last week his first game back. It was the second game back, wasn't it?
This is 2 weeks in a row now.
Yeah. We definitely permit the 1 week because we don't mind, because you do effectively handicap yourself, because I believe the site doesn't let you do add drops if you have a guy on that, which I think we permit for a week. But like you say, when you stretch that to 2 full game weeks, that's a different case. Yeah. Go on.
Reasonably lucky last week because he got 140 points. And again, with that 1 week grace is okay. If he'd have won this week, then it would have been per league rules, if we want to be stipulating that, would have been on the committee slab for disqualification. So Pat, if you're out there, do get rid of one player off your bench, and I would recommend, well, it doesn't matter who it is actually, I don't care, but one of them, get rid of them. Because otherwise, if you get into the third week and you win, you will not have that win. Yeah,
I will drop a message as well. And thank you for highlighting that, because I had not actually spotted that myself. So yes, committee should be, yes, you're right, 3 weeks in a row, regardless of win or loss, to be honest. Really, we should have done something about it last week, but as I say, that's on me for not seeing. So yeah, good point. So we'll move on. Next game up here, we have the Corona Bowl 13 rematch between Ixan and the Dream Team, which the Dream Team took 116-88, bringing their record to 6-3 and dropping Ben to 4-5. History of this matchup all time. The Dream Team are now 12-7 all time against Ben. Looking down the teams, Lamar continues to have an MVP level season. Good output in general from Viv. For Ben, outside of, Barkley actually really saved his bacon. It would have been a pretty sorry day at the office if not for that, Chris.
Yes, I absolutely agree. This must be quite sickening for Ben, because obviously Booker gets ejected.
That was such a bullshit ejection as well, by the way. Like, if I don't know if you watched the replay on that. Like, I had Stafford as well, so I had some skin in the game. It didn't matter for me, as we'll come to it a bit later. But like, the guy's like pushing him around. He does. Don't get me wrong. He does like reach out and like kind of do some sort of swipe. It does not look like a punch. It just does not look like a punch. But anyway, it wouldn't have made the difference for Ben, probably.
It certainly would not have made a difference. But what's quite sickening is that he did drop DeAndre Hopkins, and then he comes back on Viv's team and puts 20 points on him. Yeah,
that's going to sting a hell of a lot more, because just scanning down Ben's team probably plays him over, well, Alec Pierce for sure. And that would have swung the game, obviously depending on who else Viv picked. But yeah, could very well have swung the game.
Viv has been the sort of the vulture, I suppose, this year, in the sense that I see there Eckler came off my team, who was doing nothing, and then is somehow very productive on Viv. So fair play, playing the wave as well. But you got to love it. Garrett Wilson against all the odds as well, 21 points in that offense. Hopkins, Eckler, Tank Dell as well. That's probably the only healthy receiver.
He was in that, because Diggs obviously tore his in the game before. So yeah.
Fact is that Lamar is having some year, and I think this is a very solid team on some weeks. I think in other weeks it has an opportunity to not have that, especially when the Texans get healthy again. But till then, it's Lamar and riding some skill players. For Ben, it is a ragtag bunch that is being propped up by Barkley's points. To me, I don't think that's an overly healthy position to be in. But when you've got someone who's scoring QB numbers in a lot of weeks, then you can kind of get away with it. And he's finally found a quarterback that works.
Yep. Yeah, Baker's been. I think he must still be in top 5 in scoring, despite obviously losing Godwin and Evans. Yeah, he's had a very good season. So
The second overall.
I was gonna say I knew he was 2 at one point. I wasn't sure if he was still there, but yeah, crazy.
Behind only Lamar.
I'm never drafting a quarterback again unless I'm taking one of the first ones. I'm just gonna wait. There's no point.
It's not worth it.
Yeah. Right. Next game then. We've got a couple of teams who are looking to keep their seasons alive or stay in the hunt with Oakland Golden Bears. We didn't call out that the Golden made its way in there at some point in the last couple of months against Great Scott. And this one went the way of Oakland Golden Bears, who are on a 2-game win streak now after being 2-5, sorry, up to 4-5. And conversely, Great Scott falls with a 2-game losing streak to 4-5. Yeah, 94-73. First time these guys have played each other as well. So obviously Freddie takes the first one here. Looking down, Kirk Cousins, speaking of streaming quarterbacks, got there eventually because at the start of the year he absolutely wasn't a streamer, but this is exactly what everybody thought Kirk would be going to Atlanta. Yeah, pretty much the difference of the quarterback again because Kyler Murray only got 5 points. The rest of it's not too far apart, really, is it?
Not overly, no. We've seen Jeff have big weeks with his running back trio. This was not one of them. It was okay, but it wasn't wasn't what we like to see, or certainly we have seen in the past. Not a lot on the bench either. Obviously, with Mike Evans' injury, that is an issue. Having said that, though, good day on special teams and kicker and at receiver as well, which, to be fair, is what you're looking for. For Freddie, who is definitely a Bay Area enthusiast with that name. And there's nothing good about Oakland. In fact, there's nothing golden about Oakland. It is a shithole. And I've never seen a golden bear in my life, but if I do, I won't be taking a photo of it. He's found his callback finally, and it's like Philadelphia found some as jacked up an offense as well because Devonta Smith turning out to be quite a decent option over the last certainly 3 out of the last 4 weeks anyway. So that's good. Turned the corner. Can't go wrong with that. Kareem Hunt's back for the Chiefs.
Yeah,
so,
amazing. I didn't see this coming, and I thought with Clyde Edwards-Helaire possibly coming back at some point as well. I'm quite remarkable, really. In hindsight, it seems obvious, but
the one thing that you should take as a moral of that story is that there is nothing quite like home. If you find somewhere that you feel secure, just don't leave it.
It's like it's like how Jamie Collins, he obviously Patriots, started his career with Patriots, but he literally went and came back at least on 3 or 4 separate occasions. He went to Cleveland, came back home, went to Detroit, came back home. I'm almost certain there was another one that I'm forgetting, but he just kept coming back.
You just play. I tell you what, you just do everything when you're in a secure environment, and if you find somewhere that you find that is the case, let that be a life lesson to you viewers and beyond. Stay where you are. Yeah. But yes, 94 points, decent, and again another good day on special teams. The Colts are a mess, so that would be why. Downs has outscored Jonathan Taylor, and Chris Olave is not in a good place, and the bench isn't very good. But other than that,
I'm not sure Chris Olave knows where he is at the moment after the hit he took on Sunday.
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
Is he on? He doesn't know.
No. We have an updated name for Coach Gardner-Beddoes' team, but we'll get to that when we do the previews. Well, in the meantime, we'll look at this game: Cleveland Brownies against Bare Necessities. Again, Bare Necessities have been a pretty good run entering this one 5-3. Again, Ross's team at 3-5.
This must be so gutted for your dad.
Looking to stay alive, and 110 to 105 in favour of Ross's team. Joe Burrow toss in 5 touchdowns, which you could definitely argue. QBs again, seems the theme this week, coming down to quarterbacks.
But it's not that's won the game. That's won the game somehow is that fucking ridiculous Hail Mary.
Oh wait, what are we looking at here? Who are we looking at?
Who are we at here? Ramondre Stevenson scored 17 points.
Yeah, and he got 50 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Yes, he got the Hail Mary, didn't he? Yes. Well, it wasn't a Hail Mary. It was the goal line touchdown at the end. But that play was absolutely ridiculous. You're right. Yeah.
That one. Yeah, well, the play that was it was gone. It had no right to get there.
How there's no holding or anything on that play, given it was like 16 seconds long, is beyond me.
No, exactly that. So fuck knows how it was. Do you know what? That was arguably. I mean, I'd not taking anything away from the Commanders because that was quite something as well. But in terms of either pure defensive incompetence from the Titans or just general skill.
No, you're right, because with how terrible the Patriots O-line is, with how little receiving threats we have, for Drake May to somehow stay alive that long, and then of all people find Ramondre Stevenson, not a very reputed receiving running back, in the end. So,
just what on earth? And that going across the line.
He did?
Yeah. What more can you say to that? Derrick Henry's look. I'm not going to be any more complimentary than this about Ross's team. Burrow is keeping them alive.
Yeah.
Burrow is keeping them alive. But there are some things that are happening in there, but there's not a lot more than that because Burrow is having himself an unbelievable few-week spell going on here. Better Sisters, on the other hand, that running back trio is still very potent. I mean, obviously, Derrick Henry's doing Derrick Henry things, as we kind of expected him to do in that offense. Finally got himself up to speed and is just a ridiculous point-scoring machine. My boy. Well, I'm his boy. I'm his bitch. Mixon and Montgomery, again, useful river of points. And then Devontae Adams, who becomes now a very useful fantasy asset. Now he's back with his boy, Aaron Rodgers. So, and Josh Allen is probably one of the most consistent fantasy quarterbacks you're going to find. But even so, you still lose to a Drake May effective Hail Mary.
Yeah.
How when you see the point score on the other side, you must feel sickened to lose that.
Yeah, pretty frustrating. My dad's used to these kind of losses, but I didn't see the history of this one either. My dad is now, where's they are 9-6 all time against Ross's team, then going on to the last game of the week, Red-Eye Gang against Tom's Tyrants. My team carrying a 7-game losing streak into this one against Tom's Tyrants, who are looking to again keep up in the division in the playoff race of 5-3, and they drop one to a 1-7 side. Red-Eye Gang snaps the losing streak at last. We're going over 100 to boot, 101 to 73. Looking down the night, just a poor day at the office, just generally for Tom's team. Particularly, I would say special teams and kicker let him down. Defense and kicker, let him down. But even still, probably wouldn't have made the difference. But my team turning up with J.K. Dobbins and Rico Dowdle actually having a nice day for once, and then getting a bit here and there to get me home. So that's nice.
I mean, we mustn't forget as well, it would have been an absolutely appalling day for Tom had Jaden Daniels not thrown that ridiculous Hail Mary at the end of the game.
Was that last week? That was the week before. Week? That was the week before against the Bears, right?
Oh, no.
But
anyway.
Point valid, because he was quite iffy to... No. It was the Bears game where he was...
It was the Bears, you're right.
But, still, he actually, you know what? He didn't do much in this game. He was somewhat fortunate to get to it. But you're right, the point still stands because, the Commanders were pretty much doing whatever they wanted against the Giants, and running the ball quite well. So, yeah.
It is a fucking appalling week for Tom. I mean, I'm not going to lie.
He had some issues. Obviously, T missed the game again. And then, obviously some key guys just didn't really have good days. Kyron had a quiet day.
Even better, Deontay Johnson on his bench got traded to the Ravens to go and play fourth string.
Very, very interesting. That was such a weird... I knew he was available. I assumed he'd go, some of that more needed a receiver than... I mean, the Ravens could do a receiver. I don't think they could do with Deontay Johnson.
They've got literally two ridiculous tight ends, 2.5 average receivers, and I count Zay Flowers as not an average receiver.
No, he's good. Yeah, if you had a really good option opposite Zay, then it's the complete piece. I don't think Deontay's.
No, is he better than Rashad Bateman? Is he better than Nelson Aguilar? No, he's in the same league as them.
Yeah.
So you tell me why you need another one. I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, you're right. Your quarterback score from J.K. Dobbins, congratulations. That helped. Your 13 points from the Eagles D, beating down Jacksonville.
Yep.
Helped. But yeah, 101 points. I think that's a good way to get back on the horse, to be fair, and a good stream of Stafford, to be fair, because that's a bold call, and I think you got it right.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was going to be Aaron Rodgers, which I did back out of and go to him, which would have been marginally better, but I'll take it still. It was dramatic fashion as well, and quite enjoyed watching that happen live in overtime. So, thank you. Yeah, so I mean, my team's getting a little bit healthy now. Like, it's probably a bit late definitely late in the day. But you never know with our playoff format. You know, it's not over until we've got 5 weeks, so it's not time to.
The one thing that I'm going to say to you is, I think it's probably good that Tua's back from Miami on your part. Chicago's gonna be up and down, but I think the number one thing is that Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh could be wonders for George Pickens.
Yeah.
George Pickens could be DK Metcalf.
Yeah, I subscribe.
I'm going there. I think that's probably I think that's a fair comp as well, by the way.
I mean, they're obviously both more the athletic type. I'd say Metcalf's more bigger bodied.
You can't really get a bigger body than that dude.
He's a unit. Pickens is not the same build, but in terms of speed and athleticism, and he's still a pretty big receiver, just not as stacked as DK is. No. So it's not an awful comp. Yeah, I'll give you that.
That's what Russell Wilson can do for his career. Yeah. And I think Russell Wilson needs to do it for his own career.
I think there could be a little Russ renaissance going on. We'll see how he does this week.
He's under a good coach as well, which helps. And he's if Pittsburgh could keep Big Ben going for as long as they did, there's nothing they can't do with Russ. Russ is still mobile enough. He's still enough. Just needs, and you mustn't forget, I suppose, that even 3 years ago, he was still up there as one of the top QBs in the league. Yeah. And now he's some fucking walking meme. So
I mean, he's done that to himself, to be fair. But
true.
Anyway,
true.
We'll go to the around the league bit now, tying off the recap section. So let's see what it throws up this week. Ben Estes has now beaten their projected score 7 weeks in a row. That's pretty good. Pakistan has also beaten their projected score 6 weeks in a row. Dream Team does it 5 weeks in a row. Come on, around the league, do something more inventive. Ixan's done it 3 weeks in a row. Teams have won 66.7% of the time when starting the league's top scoring QB of the week, 4-2.
Here I was thinking AI and bloody machine learning was going to be the way forward. They might actually have some personality in it. No.
Well, you're looking at the same fantasy platform that uses its projected points from Madden simulations. So, yeah. Patrick Mahomes left on the bench, scoring 30.54. Which would have been the third highest individual amount in the league on the bench, but it didn't matter because he had Geno Smith. Teams that started a top 5 running back only went 1-3 this week. That is surprising. That's a good one. That's why we do this, because occasionally it throws out something like that. And then bucking the trend on the 3-game winning streak. Thank you for confirming we all have eyes. Right, let's go on to the news section. Where's the news jingle? What have I done with the news jingle? It should. Oh, it's under news. What a shock! Right, here we go. We're going off the rails on this edition of the LOC Report off the bye week. Right.
Can we just say, right, before we get going, I have just witnessed OGB's new team name. and his new picture, and I have to say that is outstanding.
We're gonna if you see it on the screen, you can see the name now. I will leave the reading out of it, and the seeing of the logo when we get to the preview.
We will get there, but you are gonna you're gonna love it if you are listening and not viewing this. This is something to hang on for.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be changing that one again this season. Right, injuries. T. Higgins has missed a couple of games over the quad. Not really sure when he's going to be back, actually, for Tom's Tyrants. And yeah, given he's obviously in a hot contest for division and playoffs, it's sort of a bad time for Higgins.
Good. He can fucking stay there as well, from my opinion. Stay as injured as he likes.
I've just seen the logo in the division.
It is outstanding.
That might. There's a few good contenders for the Commissioner's Award this year between Freddie, Ross. I think that may have just sealed it up for him. Anyway, right. Speaking of which, the return of CMC bodes soon potentially for Coach Gardner Beddoes. That could be huge. Again, we won't know until it happens, I suppose. But all signs do point towards CMC returning this week from Chris.
Yes, it is going to make his team great again. No spoilers. Yes, having a player of that caliber back, even if he only has 1.5 working legs, will be no doubt a great boost and something that clearly he's managed to ride the storm of over the past few weeks, being the number 2 team overall in the entire league without your... Well, not just your number 1 pick in the draft, but your first overall pick in the draft. So quite how he's got there through various different witchcraft, I don't know, but he has. So yeah, it's clear. Any team with Christian McCaffrey in it is going to be a better team with him in it.
Yeah. Definitely. Dak Prescott injured his hamstring quite severely. Talk of him going on IR for Ixan. So yeah.
If the Cowboys weren't bad enough, Nath, already, this is where the implosion happens. This is it.
Yeah, we'll see what Cooper Rush can do. Especially with the.
You know what he's gonna do? He's gonna do not a lot. and this might at long last finish Jerry off. Yeah, this might be it.
You're right.
How many times can somebody like him turn up to his own stadium with that team and see it woefully underperform and go, you know who the problem is? It's those guys. Do you know what it isn't? It's definitely not. It's definitely that family's problem.
Yeah.
Unless don't come after me.
No, you're not right. I mean, there's been a lot of disappointing Cowboys seasons, either in how they've ended or just generally since we've been following the sport. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is probably the most disappointing one of them yet, just with how it's panned out. Because the talent on paper, it's not as good as last year, but it's still good on balance, I'd say, and it's just been not good.
The defense is not nearly as dominant because they lost Dan Quinn. Their offense, I mean, them being able to invest in their offense because they paid Dak a absolute king's ransom for somebody who's been perennially injured for the last 3 seasons. So explain that one to me, apart from really bad GMing. Through it, and guess what? It's still going to happen because their GM is the family. They're not ever going to go outside the family. So you tell me that's going to get any better.
And I would say that it's been quite clear that this coaching staff isn't the one to do anything for them. So.
Yeah, so time to move on.
Yeah, start again.
Start again. Mike McCarthy, get rid.
Yeah,
dude's been and gone. You know, is what it is.
Yeah. Chris Olave suffered his second concussion of the season. Was quite a nasty collision. He got sandwiched basically trying to make a catch. So for Oakland Golden Bears for Freddie. So yeah, he is doubtful this week. But one must question if he'll be back again even this season. And go on.
Good as well, I would say, for my team. Bad for him, obviously, and bad for his long-term brain health. But you know, if you are somehow still an owner of a Saints wide receiver, then you know, fire him up. But if you're the Alvin Kamara owner, fuck yeah.
Who the hell even is? Oh wow, we've got some nice sound. We got some nice visual effects here.
Whoa! Where'd that come? I didn't do anything.
It's the thumbs up thing. When you do that, it does a thumbs up. Clearly, double thumbs up does whatever the hell that was. So we'll have to remember that for future analysis. I was gonna say I don't even know who the hell the top receiver is for the Saints now because Shaheed is on the shelf as well, and A.T. Perry was the only one I could think of, but they definitely cut him not long ago. So
Boston Moreau, the tight end.
Who's the top receiver though? I don't care about tight ends.
It could be him. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, well, they're going to play him at receiver. Okay, fine.
They're just going to throw to him every time.
And Nico Collins today has been designated to return from IR. That doesn't mean we're not getting anything with the thumbs down. Apparently, they only like the positivity on Facebook. That doesn't mean he's not been activated. That doesn't mean he's off IR yet. But it triggers the 21-day window for him to return from IR. So that's very good news for me. Hopefully, I could do with him back this week, to be honest, but we'll see. Yeah. Transaction-wise, no interesting transactions, but this didn't happen within the last week. But since the last time we had a pod, Ben Necessities traded Brian Robinson to the Dream Team for Devontae Adams, which you willed into existence in a way, albeit you said for Garrett Wilson. I think the Devontae Adams one is a better trade all around. It's pretty even overall value, but obviously addresses a couple of needs for both those teams.
I agree, and that's what we're here for. We're here to make suggestions on your behalf.
Yeah.
So we'll do that.
Yeah.
I said that's part of the pod. We can do what if trade corner.
Ooh,
I don't know.
Yeah, we can do that at debate corner when I haven't got a topic.
Yeah. Maybe we'll trade in debate corner for a few weeks, like trade corner. Thinking, what should we do? Let's put some...
We might have one today actually. So yeah, park that, and we might skip over the debate corner I had. Next, we'll go on to standing stats and milestones, though. So, we've got Viv moving to 4th in all-time wins. So, congrats, Viv. That's all-time wins there. And we've got me notching my 125th career loss. We have Pat notching his 75th career loss. And we have Jeff notching his 10th career, regular season loss, sorry. So, he may well have got his 10th career one, actually. Yeah, I think he did over the last couple of weeks, too. So
I can tell you, Jeff, when you get to 10, this rookie numbers in comparison to some guys at the top with 10 times that. 10 times the heartbreak.
Yeah, indeed.
Over probably, 8 times the length.
Well, yeah, it is what it is. Trade block, trade deadline, as a reminder, is November 22nd, so still got a couple of weeks for your trades. Speaking of which, I do have a note for the trade block. Bucking the Trend is looking to acquire a wide receiver for a running back. So we can maybe come back to that in a second, Chris.
Back to that. I'm going to have, as you're doing the standings and stats, I'm going to go and have a look and see who I would target.
Do that, and thank you for reminding me, because I always forget to do it when I do the milestones part. So yeah, we'll look at the standings. So Southampton division, led up by Coach Gardner Beddoes at the moment at 6-3. Followed closely by Thomas Torrance at 5-4, and a high-scoring team for twice at 4-5. So 5 games to go, obviously now entering week 10. So still all to play for there. Gridiron Gang 2-7. Obviously, would take a miracle to turn it around in the division, but mathematically not eliminated playoff-wise. Obviously, Portsmouth, the Dream Team, leading that up at 6-3. With Patterson bucking the trend, following at 5-4, and then Exan 4-5, all to play for there, and all to play for in Winchester as well, with Ben Assisties at 5-4, and then everybody else, Great Scott, Cleveland Brownies, and Oakham Golden Bears at 4-5. So if you were just running that through in your head while I did that, 11 teams in the league are between 4-5 and 6-3 at the moment. So it is remarkably tight. At the moment. If we take a look at, and I suppose in terms of the seedings for playoffs, obviously you've got the 3 division winners, Coach Gardner Beddoes, the Dream Team, and Ben Necessities. Then I believe we would have, I think at the moment it is Pakistan in the traditional wild card. Yeah, he's just got the edge on Tom's points, and it would be you, Chris, obviously in the points forward wild card. So that's how that looks at the moment. Speaking of points forward, yeah, Chris, you do more. No, sorry, you are no longer top.
I've been usurped, I know.
Only by 10. Ben Necessities at 9-4. 3, you're following not close, not far behind, so at 9-3. Then there is a bit of a gap to third with Pakistan at 8-7, and then if you go down to sort of, what is that, the 6th team, Coach Gardner Meadows, he's got about 8-40. Then there's a bit of a drop there. All of the remaining 6 teams below that are in the highish 70s region. Interestingly, none of those, this is good league balancing, none of those are currently in a playoff spot, so rightfully so. Some of them are, obviously most of them are hunting though. and then if we look at the points against, so Forge Flyers, you have also conceded the most points, Chris. So it's understandable. That you have lost a few games because Tom's Tyrants is at 914 points there, and the next then there's a bit of a drop off. There's a gaggle of teams kind of around the mid 800s. I'm in that spell as well, so that's obviously helped contribute to my loss, but not entirely driven it, obviously. And then we look further down. At the bottom, we've got Pakistan, who is in a playoff spot at the moment, despite... has only conceded 730, conceded over 200 less than you, Chris. And they have a bit of a gap compared to even the teams above them, because the others are all high 700s. So, and again, if we look playoff-wise, it's actually only Pat and it's only Pat really in the bottom half who's benefiting from that. Viv's in the lower echelon, but he's, I don't think we can point to that being a low points against, really, to be fair. Looking at the breakdown, Ben SSDs and you were atop Chris, 64, 35, 62, and 37, understandably. Not too far off is Viv at 59, 46, Pat's 56 and 43 as well. So, with the break, well, that's actually interesting because that, while the score against is low, that suggests that Pat still is obviously doing quite well. So, in theory, even if he would have had a bit more points against, it wouldn't necessarily move the needle too much, but may have helped here and there. Then we obviously have some teams in the middle ground, the teams you'd expect being at the bottom, really. I guess, again, if we're looking at the playoff teams, again, all of the playoff teams are within the top 6 on this, which, again, is what you'd like to see. Coach... Scoring wise, Pakistan is at the top, so maximising his team. Ross is a bit more of a barren roster, as we know, in second, other than Joe Burrow, so that's why it's suppressing there. Then we've got Tom's Tyrants, the Dream Team, Ben Necessities, all pretty good teams. They're all, other than Ben Necessities, are under 100, by the way. Pat's, only 54, it's really low. Then we go towards the bottom, so Coach Gardner Beddoes, top of the division, not the most scoring team. He has left a lot of points on the bench, 155, XM 150 as well. My team with 138. Mike's team coming at 134 and Jeff at 132 as well. You, Chris, also could have had even more points ridiculously. Well, you and my dad are not too far apart there, so that's what's going on there. We won't look at the true thing. Let's not do that. Let's go on to debate corner. So for that, I need John. Where are you, John? Please usher us in.
Order.
Thank you, John. Freddie's also said he's willing to trade any of his receivers for a running back. I will throw over to you, Chris, because I'm going to scratch what I had for debate corner this week, and we can go with what trade should Mike possibly do. And while you do that, I'm going to go check on Penny, because you probably heard her barking her head off. So take it away, Chris.
I mean, I say there's a few options across the league, but again, I think if Freddie's up for a trade, then this sounds like a trade could be done, because say the four wide receivers in question, unless I'm gonna go with 5. Let's go with 5. Darnell Mooney, Josh Downs, Greg McConkey, Marvin Harrison Jr., Chris Olave with no head, and Devontae Smith. Now, I think any of those, basically the last two, Marvin Harrison and Devontae Smith, you wouldn't want Olave with no head now. For any of Mike's running backs would be a fair trade, I think, because you look there, Josh Jacobs is there, Bucky Irving's hanging around there. Maybe Swift, I'm not so sure about him, but certainly Josh Jacobs on the bye there for Marvin Harrison Jr. would be a very interesting trade, or even Devontae Smith. Now, I don't know how you feel about that one, but if you feel as though you've got strong feelings, then I would suggest getting back in touch.
The problem I have with trades, because I've tried to do trades with Freddie's team and stuff as well, like, he's obviously got some good players, but when... Obviously, the perfect trade, the ideal trade situation for our league is when you have, like with Viv's team and my dad's team, where someone's got a surplus receiver, someone's got a surplus running back. It's a logical trade because you both fix a problem for each other and it doesn't affect your starting lineup. When, in the case like you're saying, Freddie is obviously trading effectively a starter for him and getting a running back that's probably of similar value back, it doesn't necessarily improve his team, but it definitely improves Mike's team.
Well, it depends, in terms of in terms of usage, I suppose. You know, say if you're not going to use...
It could be an upgrade, because if you could compare it to, again, where it's fixing a need for Mike, he might take less value on paper to obviously improve the overall roster, because at the moment he could go from starting Michael Wilson to Marvin Harrison this week, like you say, and a running back he's not necessarily taking much of a hit because he has other running backs to use. But for Freddie, anyway.
You're right, and I would say that also you've got to look at your own team and go, well, you know, if you've got someone like George Pickens or someone like DJ Moore.
Oh, I have been talking to Mike, so yeah.
Who would you take? You definitely take a trade option for either of those guys, I would say. However, across the rest of the league, I don't really see too many good options, and I think there's enough teams that are already on their arse in terms of quality anyway. Some people have a bench full of people you wouldn't necessarily want. I mean, again, someone like it's got Brian Thomas on the bench. Now, again, I don't think that you would want to trade him away necessarily. But then again, if you're quite content with the rest of your team, and if one of them goes down, you're happy to play Jordan Addison or Leggett or Ricky Pearsall if you really want for the rest of the season. Then crack on. But yeah, I think that's an option as well, Dan.
Right, it would be, I think, probably, I don't know if you saw the report, but it may be a good time for Pat to try and sell high on Thomas, because Lawrence we're going to miss this week with the shoulder issue, and there was rumblings he could be shut down for the season, potentially. So,
well, say no more. So, I say that is to me the three options I think that are best to place a running back for a receiver in the league. But if you are out there and you think you've got a better suggestion than what I've just made, then please do get in touch with Mike, because I think you might well be in for some good business.
There you go. Thank you, Chris. We will go on to the previews now. So what we have for Week 10 for you is a out-of-division week. We have Gridiron Gang against Great Scott, which is the Hutamaki Bowl. We have Ixan against Thomas Tyrants. We have Cleveland Brownies against Forge Flyers, which is a Founder Bowl. We have Coach Gardner Beddoes against Bucking the Trend. We have the Dream Team against Oakland Golden Bears, which I'm going to coin the Bristol Bowl. And we have Bare Necessities against Palestine. Where do you want to go for the marquee matchup this week, Chris?
One that hasn't started yet, ideally. Good. Right, so I'm going to eliminate from the running myself and Ross, because we've already started. Ben and Tom haven't started, but I think the difference in quality of teams is not going to be very marquee. I'm going to go with you and Jeff, actually, as a 4-point swing. Let's go with that.
Okay, cool. Here we go then. So, marquee matchup for Week 10. Here we go.
Here we go.
The comeback's on. Gridiron Gang fresh off their first win and now at 2-7, snapping a 7-game lose streak, I should say, from the first win, not first win of the season. Takes on Great Scott, who's dropped a couple, needs to get back on the win bus to stay up in the playoff race. This would have been an easy matchup over the last 8 weeks or so, but maybe not so much now, as this is projected to go Gridiron Gang's way, 84-79, 4 points on the board for Great Scott, courtesy of Evan McPherson from last night. Sticking on his side of the ball, he gets Jameson Williams back from suspension, and the rest of the roster is unchanged, so I believe that drops Jaden Reed to the bench, so he is going with 30 personnel, 3 running backs, 2 wide receivers. On the other side of the board from Gridiron Gang, Deebo Samuel, George Pickens come back in from bye. And at the moment, those are the only 2 changes, dropping Raheem Mostert and DJ Moore to the bench. So it is 20 personnel for Gridiron Gang, 2 running backs, 3 receivers. The history of this matchup all time. Let's see here. Gridiron Gang are 0-1 against Great Scott in the Hutamaki Bowl. So, Chris, could I possibly get another win this week?
Well, I'm going to ask a question first of all. I presume the GOAT comes back in. And when I played the GOAT, that is Brandon Aubrey.
Well, why are you presuming he would come back in?
Because he's your favourite best player ever this year.
I do, yeah, and that is exactly why I'm currently carrying 2 kickers, but I mean, you've been slamming on the Cowboys all season, and now is the point you think I should stick? I don't know what to make of this Cooper
That
Rush.
is the only way they can score points.
Well, it is, but I'm just concerned that, they're going to be like 20 points down after quarter one and just can't kick field goals. I agree. There's an element of, can Cooper Rush move the ball well enough to get, Brandon Aubrey to kick a 60-yard field goal, and can they do that 7 times and possibly win the game if they can play some defense? Maybe, who knows? I mean, I will counter your question with another point. If Nico Collins comes back, I need a roster spot to take him off and to thrust him into my lineup over Rico Dowdle, who I've enjoyed actually having Rico Dowdle because he is the best Dallas running back, despite what Mick McCarthy and Mike McCarthy, even not Mick McCarthy, that'd be a very interesting appointment, and Jerry Jones think. Nico would definitely play. I don't care how Nico's a dude, and I would need a roster spot to do that. So it could be Jake Elliott making a way for that to happen, which would put Aubrey back in. So, but I mean, I'm pretty confident in Jake Elliott because I think the Eagles are going to win that game fairly handedly. So they could be a bit more conservative and just kick some field goals.
I think you're right. By the way. I think you're right. Anyway, let's go with it. I think you've got a lot of good matchups in here, by the way. So let's work with your team first. So Stafford versus Miami. And it's at home, and I like it.
Yep.
I'm here for it. So Deebo's fit. At Tampa could be a one of those games where, especially with McCaffrey coming back, we should see a bit more stability from the 49ers potentially.
Yeah.
And again, with very few options to throw to. Pickens and Hill again. I like any game where Washington's involved right now because it's going to be a little bit of an offensive matchup. And I think that Pittsburgh, as we were talking about earlier on, are on the up. And I think Russell Wilson needs to prove that he can still do it. Mm-hmm. And Pickens is going to be the beneficiary from that. Hill improves hugely with Tua, albeit it is a long way to go from Miami to Los Angeles this time of the year, or indeed any time of the year. J.K. Dobbins versus Tennessee, I like that. Dowd against Philly is probably going to get game scripted, so that's a shame, but you do have other options on the bench.
I do.
Should you wish to change that.
Yep.
And as we spoke about there, the Eagles should have no problem dealing with that blunted Dallas Cowboys offense. So overall, I like it. For Jeff, again, it's what version of Jeff's team turns up. To me, those 3 running backs are probably the key to success here because Kupp is playing Stafford on the other side, and Jameson Williams. Who knows if he might end up going off for doping again, or we talk about doping, performance enhancing.
It's very interesting that because I don't know how much you read about it because he only obviously received a 2-game suspension. Normally for PEDs it's minimum of a 4-game. When it's less than that, that means it's actually something he has been prescribed to be needing for medical reasons, but in the paperwork or something's wrong with the paperwork submitted to the league for the approval to use whatever the substance is. So it's not necessarily that he's been taking PEDs. It's possibly that he's just been taking something that could be viewed as a PED and he didn't do the paperwork right or something like that, basically.
That's fair. And to be fair, his performance don't need to be enhanced because he's quite effective.
Yeah.
So again, I like it. And against Houston, I like it. But here's what I don't like. Kyler's not been great. He's okay at home, but I know the Jets have been, just the Jets. They've just been the Jets this year. But their defense is still reasonably stout. And I think, unfortunately, that you don't know quite how to read Kyler this year, or indeed a lot of the other 4 years. That have been.
He is a hard evaluation. He's Schrodinger's quarterback. Is this a guy you build a team around or not?
He is the 9th overall QB this year, but again, we mustn't forget that he's been in double digits 20 as in the 20s, that is. I don't count anything else. So he's been in the 20s for what? 1, 2, 3, 4 games. The rest of it's mid-teens, and then obviously 4 points against the Bears last week. And he's going into a bye coming up. So I'm not feeling that. I think he's ready for the break. I think you're going to win this game, Nath. And I like most of your team, apart from Rico Dowdle.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I like some of Jeff's team, but not all of it. And I think that the skill positions are all really, really, really average. But all of them have the potential to have good days, and that Munich game could be weird because there's 2 garbage teams playing in a foreign country.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the fantasy community is jumping up and down over Tyrone Tracy this week because of the matchup, but it is also the Giants, so it's a hard one to read. Javonte Williams, tough matchup against Casey as well. Cooper Kupp's the bright spot, but I'm obviously doing the tactical negation of that, as you say, with Matthew Stafford. So, yeah, I think I'd like to think, again, I'm going to pick myself here and have some confidence for the first time in a while, and think I'll win this one as well. The worry is I do have George Pickens, while on paper it seems like a good matchup. Washington has been sneakily good on defense. Pittsburgh are coming off a bye, so we'll see what. And obviously, as you mentioned, with Russ and stuff as well, so that does help. But they have been sneakily good, and yeah, as you say, at the moment I've got Dowden, and I'm praying Nico does actually play because he'll absolutely be taking his spot. Yep. If not, I don't really think I'm too excited about the prospect of DJ Moore or Raheem Mostert. But if CMC did for whatever reason sit, then Jordan Mason could still make a start too. So you seem more enthused about either Mostert or did you? I'd probably go with Mostert just for clarification if I do back off Dowdle and Nico isn't back.
I don't hate DJ Moore. I just think DJ Moore has games where it's difficult to predict him.
Right, we're going to do a DJ Moore analysis because I looked at this and I've been framing DJ Moore in a very wrong way. So if you look at his scores there, obviously what jumps out to you is he's only had double digits once. Beyond that, I remember in this Indy game he caught the Hail Mary, which he somehow didn't score a touchdown on either. If not for that, he has like 3 points. He has, and then he would therefore have only 2 games where he scored more than 5 points the entire season. So
he has ridiculous amounts of targets, but not a lot of points.
That's pretty much it, because Caleb Williams could not hit the back of a fucking barn door if he tried. So, and nor does he have the O-line to keep him upright. And Shane Waldron's needs to lay off the crack pipe, as we all know. So,
so no, that's not an option. So yeah, if that's the case, then yeah, I get it. I think you should just again, I'm going to come back to it. And this is the last time I'm going to discuss this particular matter on this particular podcast. But if you had 2 kicker slots, you'd be playing Brandon Aubrey.
This week, yes, I probably would. And it breaks my... I'm not going to drop Brandon Aubrey. I do not want to drop Brandon Aubrey.
Point proven! Point proven! There we go.
If I could play 5 Brandon Aubreys, of course I'd do that any week. Jesus, are you kidding?
But you could play again. I'm not gonna labour the point. But if you could play 3 kickers over any random skill position, why wouldn't you do that?
I'm playing the jingle for the next game. Here we go. Ixan take on Tom's Tyrants, where thankfully both teams aren't playing more than 2 kickers. The projections have this one going Tom's Tyrants away 91-73. Tom's Tyrants are 5-4, looking to keep up in the division, as are Ixan at 4-5. The history of this game, Ixan are 12-9 against Tom's Tyrants. Looking at the lineup for Tom's Tyrants, I believe they're unchanged at the moment, as is customary. Tom does not normally change his team until Sunday, so he has a personnel of 21 at the moment, which is 2 running backs, a tight end and 2 receivers. For Ben's team, it looks like he's brought in Quentin Johnson and Ray Davis, I believe, dropping Jerry Jeudy and Alec Pierce to the bench. So that is, 20 personnel, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and that's your lot. So heavy projected win for Tom's Tyrants here, and I will just quickly do the injuries from the other game because I forgot to do that like I always do. Divock Samuel questionable. He is dealing with wrist, quad, something, I don't know, but he should play. Jordan Mason still got his shoulder. He probably will play, but probably won't matter with CMC. Collins will see with the hamstring coming off IR. Bixby questionable, he should play. John Jennings questionable as well, I think he should play. Mike Evans has already been ruled out, and that's for that. So, yeah, Tom has a remarkably higher projection than Ben this week. I mean, it's a stunningly low projection for a team that presumably every player has got a projection there. I can't quite put my finger on why it's so low, but I mean, there's some ropey players there, don't get me wrong, but there's a very low projection for a team that's not had anyone play yet.
There's some shit in there.
To put it,
this might be the easiest lock I'm ever.
I don't think this passes the mirror test. I'm gonna put it out
because I would do it otherwise, but it really doesn't. This is not this would be seriously unfair. Look, Tom's team. I think just with Daniels, if you just said to me, he's playing this team, Ben's team that is, with Daniels, Aaron Jones and Kyron Williams alone, without the Bills D that is playing Indy, which is going to be a shit show for Indy, without Young Wei Koo kicking in a dome, without Shakir, who, to be fair, there is not many other people to throw to apart from him and Amari Cooper, and Travis Kelce, who has had a slow start, must have got his summer out of him in December, November, whatever month it is. I'm sorry, this is night and day here. I mean, I know that on the other side there's a couple of players that might be able to do it. Barkley is...
You're looking at Barkley and Nakua. That is what you're hanging your hat on. And that Baker can continue to be the number 2 scoring quarterback. That is Ben's only hope.
That's pretty much it. Calvin Ridley, who knows, he's been a resurgence since he's been on Ben's team, to be fair, and you know, the Titans have not turned the corner. Quentin Johnson had a good week last week. Ray Davis, man, I'm not sure about that. That's
not
rogue.
With. I mean, is he just going on? No. Tom doesn't have James. Yeah, that. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's pretty desperate. At this point, Ben, I just fucking go and get Taysom Hill. What are we doing?
It's rogue. I just don't know about that. So we're gonna go. Let's go to the waiver watch just for a minute. Mark Andrews was on the waivers this week.
It's Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill is by far and away the best option if you just want a guy that you plug and play and hope.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts is there as well.
I also don't love the old. He's playing the Niners D against Baker Mayfield.
Baker as well, yeah. You're gonna mop up, or you're going to get rid of. So look, you're right. We can't do this. This doesn't pass the LOC Report mirror test. 4 locks. This is a very, very, very comfortable Tom Tyrants win, and that is all we have to say about that.
Yeah, no, agreed. Don't think we need to say any more. Other than the injuries, Baker will play. I think it's a toe injury he's dealing with. Austin Siebert's been a bit banged up as well, but I think he should be okay. And then clean bit of health for the non-playing Tom Tyrants players. I didn't read off where we are with all the Pick'em the Log stuff. I'll just do that because we obviously didn't have it last week. But just to give an update of where we are. On the Pick'em, I'm 21-15 this season. You are 15-9, Chris. Bringing me to 128 and 94 all time, and you 104 to 71. On the locks, I'm 4-2 on the season. You are 1-2 because I don't think you had one in the last show we had before.
Correct.
Yeah, I think we both missed that you'd forgot to do it, and I forgot to remind you. So that's fine. And I'm 22-17 all time, and you are 15-12. So we are with that. Yeah, we'll go on to our next game now. Cleveland Brownies take on Forge Flyers. Both these teams are 4-5. Both have had very different paths this season, though. One is the highest scoring team, one most definitely is not. But the highest scoring team has a 3-game losing streak here. But they are also projected to win 113 to 96. 48 to 42 is the score. Both teams have only had... actually, no, that's a lie. You've had 2 players play. Ross has had 1. You had Jamar Chase, Chris, who got 44 points, which if you split that with Zay Flowers is nice overall, but Zay only got 3. And then Ross just happens to have Chase's quarterback Joe Burrow getting him the 42 as well. Lineup-wise, Chris, you have Rodgers in over Jordan Love because you have absolute By-Mageddon. Yeah, he's going back to the well. You also bring in Xavier Worthy, and that drops Jacoby Myers. to the bench. And on the other side, so you are going with the 20 personnel, 2 ranks, 2 receivers. Ross's team, I believe he is unchanged, or has he? No, he must have brought in Travis Etienne for Nick Chubb, I'm going to guess. So he's got the 31 personnel, 3 running backs, a tight end, and a receiver. The history of this matchup all the time. Forge Flyers, you are 7-6 against Ross's team. What a start to this game. I mean, I kind of find it hilarious that Ross has 42 points on the board, you've got 48, yet your projections are still only 96 and 113. That just seems wild.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, I'm not going to lie. It's obviously an unbelievable start for both of us, particularly for me, because I have a 44-point skill position. Okay. So, yeah, that's quite something to wake up to this morning.
Yep, I bet.
So, to get very excited, yes, I am playing Aaron Rodgers, and I am extremely excited about it. As Aaron Rodgers fan, I'm Penny's an Aaron Rodgers fan as well, by the sound of it. I'm extremely excited to see it again. I didn't go very well for me last time, but you know what? He's got a better. He's running the offense now. He's got his boys in. You know, what more can you want? They've been in an all right streak the last couple of weeks. And then we go to Kamara and Gibbs, who, again, I would say Kamara is going to be well used. Might even be... Yes, I agree. In that one. And Jamal Gibbs, he has been nothing short of a revelation for me this year. He is the number 4 overall running back. He's been well used, double-digit points in all but one game so far this season. And even then, that was a 91-yard ripper against the Cowboys in 3 weeks ago. Xavier Worthy comes in, yes, but I'm taking a bit of a calculated gamble on this one that there's going to be a lot of attention from other receivers and Travis Kelce from that defense, and he's going to be the beneficiary. Now, we'll see next week if I'm correct on that. But, we have to try something. Yeah. And then Boswell, Lions D. Now, Chris Boswell, he's been kicking the Steelers to some sort of credibility this year. And obviously the Detroit Lions defense, who this week solved some of their issues by trading for Cedarius Smith. Yes, it's very exciting, I know. And again, should be a little bit more potent this week than they have been in the past. As for Ross's team, I actually don't think it's going to be an overall complete shit show because, of course, he already has scored 41 points. I think Justin Jefferson's on for a good game against Jacksonville. I think that's fair enough. I think the Steelers D might get a few sacks in there. I think that's fair enough. I think that Ramondre Stevenson will be well used once more. But do I like Etienne and Singletary or indeed Trey McBride? I am not as keen. Mm-hmm. So, for me, I am well happy with that. I hope to go over 100 again, get back on the horse, get over 1,000 points for the year, and get out of town. And as a result, because we haven't had a podcast for a long time, I'm going to lock myself and be very confident in my ability this week to be able to win my own game.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, does this game pass the mirror test? Because I was going to lock it as well, but you've locked it. I'm not going to do a double lock because that's not good for broadcasting. So we have done it before, but no, I won't do it. I'll let you lock it. But I'm definitely going to pick you as well because you should easily win this one. You have got a good edge with Chase, as you say. You've got other nice pieces there to go with it. Ross's team, yes, as you say, the 42 points is nice, but in terms of the upside out of Jefferson, it just doesn't really exist so much. So, you should have no problem winning this one. I do have a question for you, though. If Nico plays, this isn't a party question, just a question. Yeah. If Nico plays, would you change up from the Lions defense or not?
No.
Yeah, I don't mind that because their interior O-line is a mess at the moment. So whilst they might score more points, they will still get lots of sacks and have the chance for some turnovers.
They score points. I still think they're a point scoring defense that's extremely motivated by, I'm talking about Aaron Rodgers fans banging on for many a year now. This has been many a year. The Motor City Dan Campbell, whoop 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 whoop. He's going to get that defense.
Penny agrees. Yeah.
I think that again, big fan of Aaron Rodgers, Penny, big fan of the Lions D, but as we all are and should be, a big fan of Dan Campbell.
Yeah, absolutely. And as much as she's a big fan of all those things, she also hates fireworks, which is the present cause of her barking. So I will try and mute myself when you are doing your expert analysis, Chris. So because it does cut out.
That's very kind.
Yes.
So,
No. It's more for the broadcasting continuity, because whenever I make noise, I think that cuts your mic seemingly. So
does it?
with Penny barking, yes, we can't have that. So.
I'm just flattered that you think it's expert analysis. So that is even kinder.
Of course. Right. Let's go on to the next game. Here we go. We got Bucking the Trend next, taking on Make Kitchens Great Again. With the logo.
And for anyone that's not watching this podcast on a medium such as YouTube, the image that is used for his display is, of course, President-elect Donald J. Trump serving fries in Macca's.
Yeah, absolutely incredible stuff. Oh, yeah, it does. Yeah, that is the gold standard for team names and logos from this point onwards. But yeah, back to this game. He is making Kitchens great again, because he's projected to win this one. 96. What? He hasn't had a play yet to 84. With Bucking the Trend having 13 points. Oh, you know why? Because Christian McCaffrey's back in the lineup, even though he's still on the IR. He should be back. And that is the only roster change, because that drops Alexander Mattison to the bench. Rightfully so, get fucked. So he is going with 30 personnel. Running backs
at the same time.
We've been doing this for a while, you can tell. On Bucking the Trend side of the board, 13 points from Chase Brown. At the moment, I'm not sure. Oh, he must have just dropped Josh Jacobs to the bench for Chase Brown, actually. And Amari Cooper comes back in as well for JSN, who's on a bye. I think those are the two changes. So he's going with the 30 personnel. 3 racks, 2 receivers. The history of this matchup, we're gonna make so much history, people, is that Bucking the Trend is 3-2 all the time against You Are Gold. We're gonna have so many points in this matchup, Chris. Tell me how he is never gonna lose again. He's gonna defeat the evil within, Coach Taylor. How's he gonna do it, Chris?
He's gonna deport all of his team.
Oh, there's so much material. Go on.
It's just awful, isn't it? Yes, make kitchens great again. And I'm trying to understand what that is. MKGA. Mukga. That isn't even
Mukga.
Mukga.
Well, it goes with the logo. Mukga. There you go.
Mukga. There we go. There's double digits being flown around everywhere. Much like the US's inflation figures. We went there. Hurts versus Mahomes. Here we go. So the once powerful and strong Dallas Cowboys defense, not the USA. It should be no issue for Jalen Hurts this week. Whilst I think Mahomes could be stunted, blunted, but not stopped by the Broncos D, especially at home. I think at home there is a significant advantage. And for Mike, with his 13 points from his skill positions already, that's a great leg up. I think again Bijan and Swift will be in for a busy day. I don't like Michael Wilson versus the Jets at all, but as we spoke about earlier on in this podcast, he's looking to sort that problem out, and Amari Cooper versus the Colts should be ideal as well. On the other side, there's lots of stuff to get excited about. To be fair, London against New Orleans. it probably isn't one of them, I'm afraid. But Kirk's been dealing, but will he deal against New Orleans, who, for the first time in such a long time, we can say is in rebuild mode, in complete and utter disarray, and do not have Marshawn Lattimore anymore.
He is now in Washington and not playing because he's injured. So, but anyway.
So you could say to yourself, well, that secondary is significantly worse, and I think isn't a scary proposition anymore. But you're still on the Atlanta Falcons. But that's not the worst place to be. What could be worse, though, is being on the Giants in Munich. Munich's a nice city, but being on the Giants isn't very good. But Malik Neighbors is good enough to get over that. Playing Carolina, who suck. But then again, Neighbors hasn't found the same sort of form over the last few weeks as in the first 3 weeks of the season. Having said that, though, he has just played Washington, the Steelers, and the Eagles. So not very QB-friendly teams, therefore not Neighbors-friendly teams either. Now, McCaffrey, Pollard, and Hubbard may well be... I mean, obviously McCaffrey isn't overrated, underrated. Anyway, he's perfectly rated. I'm going to use the Viv Nathwani terminology there, because that's... I really like it. Tony Pollard, on the other hand, hasn't practiced all week. Not ideal. Albeit he's starting to get used a little bit more, but away to the Chargers would not be my ideal place to end up, because they are surprisingly, well, not surprisingly because it's a Harbaugh team, quite stout on defense, especially against running backs. Hubbard, on the other hand, should have a field day against the Giants, albeit if they can get some offense going and they can break through that quite decent rush of the Giants. That's the one thing they've got going for them this year on defense, is they can rush running backs and they can rush QBs. And the Bears defense versus New England as well should, if it doesn't go all Bears on us, be
no, Bears at home are a different kettle of fish to Bears anywhere else. So.
Home, yeah, I agree. But we saw last week that actually the increase in QB standard for New England has gone up just a little bit. But for me, it's a relatively easy one this week. I think that for the second time this week, making something great again might work. And he's going to get across the line. So, Mukja for me, over bucking the trend.
Well, I'm going to lock Mukja, in fact, because we're going to do so much winning, folks. Yeah, it's I don't love Mahomes in this one. Mahomes had a better week last week. I've got the jingle now. He's been bang average squared as a fantasy quarterback.
Bang average
there
squared.
It is. And against Denver, I know he's at home, but yeah, he's going to turn back into a bit of a fantasy pumpkin, I think. I don't mind the rest of Mike's team, actually, really, other than Michael Wilson. But yeah, I just think with McCaffrey coming back, Hurts, who is dealing with an ankle injury, but by all accounts should be playing. And yeah, Neighbors could go bonkers, and like you say, Hubbard should have a good day. So yeah, there's just too much on that side. I think that yeah, Coach Carpenter should easily get a win here. We'll go on to our penultimate game of the week now. We've got the Dream Team taking on Oakland Golden Bears in the Bristol Bowl. The Dream Team at 6-3, taking on the 4-5 Oakland Golden Bears. Projected win for the Dream Team, 105-78. They've already got 41 points on the board to 2, courtesy of Lamar Jackson, of course, in that Thursday night game. In terms of the rest of the team, I believe Viv's side is he's bringing G. Harris back in for Austin Eckler, and Brian Robinson comes in for DeAndre Hopkins at the moment, so he's going with 20 personnel, 2 next to receivers, and on the other side of the board for Oakland Golden Bears, Jared Goff, was he already? He may have already been in the lineup, actually. What else? I'm struggling to remember who.
It's gone to the bench.
Yes, that Marvin Harrison's he gone to the bench as well? Quite possible.
He's still on the bench.
Yeah. So I think that might mean Donnell Mooney's come in possibly. So he's going with the 20 personnel anyway, 2 next to receivers. I believe this is the first time these two would have played each other. Also, again, I would just dovetail back a couple of games and do the injury report real quick because I forgot again. ETN questionable, but should play. He played last week. That's all for your game, Chris. And then the other game, yeah, McCaffrey should return. Drake London's looking good to play with that hip injury. Pollard, as you say, Chris, I would say is very iffy at the moment. Suspicious has already been ruled out. Bucky Irving doing with a toe injury should play. And Murray Cooper got the wrist injury. He could be back this week. But I would let you go back to this game, Chris. So yeah, seems like Viv is going to win fairly comfortably.
I totally agree with you. I don't think it matters in what form you are going to play as Freddie, but unfortunately, you're going to get beaten this week. Yeah, and I hate to say it, I think the Vikings D might be either the second or third top scorer on that team. Yeah. But Creighton's going to have a good day. So I'm going to go with that. Aside from that, do I like Mooney and Downs? No. Do I like Jonathan Taylor in that offense right now? No. Especially playing Buffalo? No. Justin Tucker missed an extra point yesterday as well.
He did. He's sneaking not been great this season.
He's still kicking double digits, but I mean, as we know, there's a new goat kicker in town.
Oh yeah, you're damn right there is. Brandon Goatbury.
Just the thought of it makes it sound sexual. And the sheriff that is in town very much this year is Lamar Jackson on the other side. And what more can you say about the superlatives of his performances in the fantasy realm this year? Another 40 points, adding to the tally. He scored 40 points or more 3 times this year, which is quite something. Anchoring Viv's team. And you can't look down that list and say to yourself that isn't a good team because you have 2 very talented wide receivers in AJ Brown and Garrett Wilson. You have Najee Harris, who's got plenty of scope to improve now. He actually is in a solid and stable team that might stay in games. Brian Robinson has been criminally underrated most of the year. Chiefs playing Denver, who again, you don't know what they're going to do on offense, but at Arrowhead, probably going to shit the bed. And Tank Dell, who still, for at least the next couple of days, is the only fit, credible receiver on the Texans. So, for me, it is a extremely easy canter to victory for the Dream Team there, who are already 38 points ahead in this one.
Yeah, they're the pick for me as well. Obviously, potential 3-time MVP quarterback Lamar Jackson. Pretty much just sealed this one up already. It would take a lot for Freddie to overturn that, so we don't need to add any more other than the injuries, which are Brian Robinson questionable, but I'd imagine he will come back from that injury. In this one,
you have some time to work. Now they don't have to worry about that after the incomplete.
Not at all. Third and goal. Jackson.
Because I can hear a video.
Running around.
I see no video.
Little jump pass, touchdown.
God, what is... Alright, we'll get off that. Yeah, there we go. No video playing. Yeah, I can hear video. Excellent. And then elsewhere, Devontae Smith questionable. I can't remember what his injury is from the top of my head, but I think he should be okay. Olave doubtful with the concussion. He won't play. Jonathan Brooks, he could play, I think. In fact, they said that he would return. Yeah, he has been activated off the IR, so he will probably play. We'll go on to the last game of the week now then. Both 5-4 teams. Benasus take on Pakistan here. Benasus is projected to win this one 98-86. Benasus is up 13 zip because of Derrick Henry on Thursday night. Elsewhere, lineup wise for bare necessities, George Kittle comes back in the lineup from bye. Dropping. I'm not sure who to the bench. He might have dropped the player he had before. Doesn't matter. He's got 31 personnel, 3 running backs, tight and a receiver for Pakistan. Let's see here. I believe he may be unchanged this week.
I think you might be right.
Yeah, so he's currently going with 30 personnel, 3 running backs, 2 receivers. History of this matchup, all-time beneficiaries are 5-7 against Pakistan. So CD stays healthy enough to play, presumably, but obviously without Dak Prescott. Is that going to make a difference for that?
I am betting against the highest scoring team in the league, and there is a reason for that, because this team is bloody good. And the reason why they're bloody good is that they have positions they can score everywhere in, from QB to defense in this game. I absolutely love it, top to bottom. Love it. And yeah, playmakers everywhere. So I am going for better necessities. Had I not have made the snap decisions and lock it, I'd have locked this one. Yeah, there's too many question marks over Pat's team. The one question you don't have is the quarterback, because Donald's been great. But yeah, CD and Waddle again, in terms of performance and volume, could be challenging. I think Connor and Cook are as solid as the day is long, but again won't be as solid as Mixon and Montgomery on the other side. Achan's got that bit of spark that you need, but again, long way to go. Playing the Rams, of course, and the Chargers versus Tennessee, which could be quite funny, especially at home. But do I think that they're going to outscore the Giants in Carolina? Well, the Giants playing Carolina and Munich. I don't think so, and I don't think it makes a difference anyway, because I think that there's just too much talent on Ben Necessity's team. So Ben Necessity's is.
Yeah, Ben Necessity's for me too. Like you say, we saw in these stats sections saying stats, Ben Necessity's highest scoring team, as you say. Pat's down the lowest scoring team, which suggests Pat may have avoided a little bit some of the better teams so far, albeit we saw in the breakdown that the record is obviously still good. But yeah, it's going to be a correction to Pakistan's points against this week, one would think. So Pat can still have a nice day though. Like it's good to be, like you say, probably just going to get outscored by hook or by crook by Ben Necessities. So that is my verdict too. That brings us to the end of injury wise, yeah, Lamb should play with the shoulder. Connors should play as well. Ryan Thomas should play. Pittman has been ruled out. No other injuries there. That does bring us to the end of the show, though. So thank you for joining us again, Chris.
You are very welcome.
And there it is. Yeah, one more time for the show. I'm around this Sunday, so if you would like to come and watch the games at mine, you're more than welcome to do so. But beyond that, have a good weekend, everybody. Best of luck in your matchups. Unless you're playing me, of course. Goodbye, everybody.